Imagine getting up every morning feeling energized, clear, and sure that the day ahead is not just another one, but a genuine opportunity to grow, move forward, and finally take charge of your life. But let's get real for a second. How often do you actually wake up feeling this way? If you're like most people, you're probably dragging yourself out of bed, already stressed, already behind, wondering how you're going to get through the next 12 hours. It's not laziness, it's the weight of the modern world, the mental noise, the constant pressure to perform without pause. And yet, there's a different way to start, a quieter, steadier, more powerful way. The ancient Stoics believed that how you begin your day is how you shape your soul. Marcus Aurelius didn't wake up and scroll through noise. He reflected. He prepared his mind like a warrior sharpens a blade. And that's what we're talking about here. Not perfection, but preparation. Not hacks, but habits that build real strength from the inside out. What if the problem isn't that your mornings are chaotic, but that you've never been shown how to make them sacred? How to wake up on purpose? How to reclaim your time, your clarity, your peace, before the world tries to take it from you? That's exactly what we're diving into today. If these conversations speak to something real in you, something grounded in truth, philosophy, and inner growth, consider subscribing. It's a small gesture, but it helps us reach more minds like yours, and it quietly signals that you're walking this path with intention. 1. Wake up 1 hour earlier. There's something strange that happens in the early hours before the world fully wakes up. It's like stepping into a hidden room that nobody talks about, a place untouched by noise, pressure, or performance. And yeah, I get it. The idea of waking up even earlier than you already do might feel like punishment. But stay with me. This isn't about grinding or being ultra-productive. It's about claiming your mind back before the chaos has a chance to steal it. That extra hour, it's not just time, it's sacred ground. It's the only moment in the day when the world isn't shouting demands at you, when you're not checking notifications, reacting to updates, or already in survival mode. It's quiet. And in that quiet, something powerful happens. You start to see clearly. And clarity, as the Stoics knew well, is what allows you to act with intention instead of impulse. Marcus Aurelius, in the stillness of his own mornings, reminded himself to greet the day not with dread, but with the deep awareness that simply being alive was a privilege. Carl Jung once said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." But how often do we actually give ourselves a chance to do that? Most people wake up and immediately rush into the fog of external noise, wondering why they feel anxious, lost, or unmotivated. But the truth is, they've never spent enough time in silence to hear themselves think. Aristotle believed that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. That knowing doesn't happen in the middle of a meeting or during your lunch break. It happens in that quiet hour, before the scroll, before the rush, before the day begins. That's where the real work starts. 2. Drink a full glass of water. Most of us roll out of bed and head straight for the coffee maker like it's some kind of life support system. But here's the thing, before that first sip of caffeine, before the screen lights up with 100 distractions, your body is sending out a silent SOS. I'm thirsty. You've just gone 7 or 8 hours without a drop of water, and your brain, the control center of everything you think, feel, and do, is quietly running on empty. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious is always trying to communicate with us, and often it does so through the body. That morning fog, the sluggish thoughts, the grumpy mood, that's your body whispering, "Hydrate me." 1 glass of water isn't just about quenching thirst, it's a reset, a signal to your nervous system that you're awake, alert, and ready to engage with the world intentionally. Stoic philosophy teaches us that discipline isn't found in the big dramatic gestures, it's in the small, quiet choices we repeat every day. Epictetus reminded us that progress comes through working on yourself daily. So no, drinking a glass of water isn't glamorous, but it's the first micro-win of your morning. You're telling your body and mind, I care about how I start this day. And that message ripples forward into everything else. Plato once said that the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Hydrating before anything else is a tiny act of self-conquest. It says, I'm not being dragged into the day by habit. I'm choosing how I begin. That's power. That's clarity. That's how mastery starts, with one glass of water. Third, skip the phone scroll. It's crazy how fast it happens, right? 1 second, you're reaching for your phone to just check something real quick, and suddenly you're 20 minutes deep into a real rabbit hole, comparing your life to someone's vacation photos or arguing with a stranger in the comments section. It's subtle but destructive. Every notification you open is a tiny act of surrender. Your peace, hijacked. Your clarity, scattered. And worst of all, you haven't even brushed your teeth yet. The Stoics would call this a loss of sovereignty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." But when your first conscious act is to scroll, you're giving that power away. You're letting algorithms decide your emotional weather. What if, instead, you started your day on your own terms? No outside input, no headlines, no curated lives. Just 30 minutes. That's it. 30 minutes of you setting the tone before the world gets a vote. That little window might seem small, but it's sacred. It's the difference between reacting and responding. Socrates once said, "Beware the barrenness of a busy life," and nothing makes you feel busier and emptier than starting your day in a digital storm of everyone else's noise. Give yourself a buffer, a moment of calm before the current pulls you in. Sit, breathe, reflect, stretch. Read a few lines of something meaningful, anything that nourishes your mind instead of flooding it. Because once you learn to protect those first few minutes, you realize it's not just about the phone. It's about choosing who gets to shape your thoughts. And that choice, every morning, belongs to you. 4. Win something small. There's something underrated, almost invisible, about the first small act of order in your day. You don't need to meditate for an hour or write a 3-page journal entry. Just make your bed, straighten the sheets, fluff the pillows, wipe the sink, wash your face like it matters. These little things seem trivial, right? But they're not. They're signals. You're telling your brain, I'm in control today. Not chaos, not distraction. Me. And that one small act becomes your first promise kept. Carl Jung once said, "What you do not make conscious will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Well, these small acts of intention, they make you conscious. They turn the unconscious spiral of messiness and apathy into deliberate action. The Stoics believed that greatness wasn't found in huge accomplishments, but in the discipline of daily living. Marcus Aurelius wasn't out there looking for epic wins. He was trying to live cleanly, simply, with purpose. He wrote, "Don't waste the rest of your life worrying about what others think of you." And honestly, that's what a messy room often reflects. A mind preoccupied, pulled in 10 directions, trying to be everything to everyone. But when you take a few moments to impose order on your space, you're not just tidying up, you're grounding yourself, you're anchoring your mindset. And most importantly, you're starting the day with action. Because motivation, that comes and goes. But momentum, That's what carries you when motivation is nowhere to be found. One win leads to the next. One act of order becomes a chain reaction, and all it takes is folding a blanket with purpose. 5. Move your body. There's a moment in every morning where your mind wakes up, but your body's still stuck in sleep mode, like the two halves of you aren't talking yet. And that's where movement comes in. Not a gym session, not some high-pressure fitness grind, just movement. A walk around the block, a few deep stretches, maybe 10 jumping jacks, or dancing like a maniac in your kitchen while your coffee brews. It doesn't have to look impressive, it just has to wake you up, physically, mentally, energetically. The Stoics understood this in their own way. Epictetus taught that the body and the soul are deeply connected. He trained not just his mind, but his physical form too, because strength in one feeds the other. And it's not just ancient wisdom backing this. Psychology today recognizes how powerfully movement affects our state of mind. Carl Jung believed the body was the visible form of the soul. If your body's frozen, sluggish, shut down, what does that say about your spirit? But when you start your morning by moving, even just for 5 minutes, something shifts. You remind yourself, I'm not stuck, I'm not small, I'm not asleep to my own life. Movement becomes a form of self-respect, a way to reconnect with the fact that you're alive, here now, with a body that can do, not just think. So stop overcomplicating it. Don't wait until you feel like it. Move, even if it's messy, even if it's small, because motion creates emotion, and once you get going, the day can finally start with you in the driver's seat. 6. Shock yourself awake. Cold showers. The phrase alone makes most people cringe. It's the villain of the bathroom for a reason. It's uncomfortable, jarring, completely unnatural to our comfort-seeking brains. But that's exactly why it works. That moment right before you step in. When your mind is inventing every excuse to back out, that's the threshold. And once you cross it, once the cold hits and you don't run, you're not just getting clean. You're building something deeper, resilience. That sharp breath you take, the stillness you find in the middle of the shock, that's not just physical, it's mental training. You're proving to yourself, I can handle discomfort. I can face resistance and not flinch. The Stoics were obsessed with this concept. Seneca fasted. Marcus Aurelius endured cold nights, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they knew the value of self-imposed challenge. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And how much of our lives do we waste avoiding discomfort, padding every edge, chasing ease?" Cold showers are a way to interrupt that cycle. A ritual reminder that you don't have to feel ready to do something meaningful. You just have to start. Carl Jung spoke of how facing the parts of ourselves we fear is what transforms us. Well, this is a small daily version of that. You face the shock, you breathe, and in that simple act, you rewire the way your mind handles fear, hesitation, and hardship. Cold water doesn't just wake up your skin, it wakes up your will, and if you can conquer that moment, what else could you face with that same breath? 7. Journal freely. Your mind in the morning can feel like a browser with too many tabs open. Thoughts popping up from yesterday's conversations, random worries, reminders, regrets, things you still haven't processed. And when you don't clear that clutter, it follows you into your breakfast, your meetings, your relationships. That's where journaling comes in. It's not about writing something profound or elegant. It's about creating space. You're not performing. You're processing. You're getting things out of your head and onto the page so you can see them. When you do that, the noise quiets down. You start to feel lighter, more grounded, more in control. It's like putting your thoughts in their proper place instead of letting them bounce around your brain like ping-pong balls. Marcus Aurelius did this. His book, Meditations, that was his journal, private notes, daily reflections, reminders to himself about how to live with discipline and dignity. He didn't write it to inspire anyone else. He wrote it to stay aligned with his values. Carl Jung also believed deeply in the value of writing to access the unconscious. He said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Journaling is how you look inside. It helps you notice the patterns, the stories you're telling yourself, the loops you're stuck in, and sometimes just seeing them on paper is enough to break them. So don't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect words. Grab a pen, open a page, write what's real. Because when you take 5 minutes in the morning to check in with yourself, before the world checks in with you, you're doing more than journaling. You're leading your own mind. 8. Set 3 clear goals. Most people don't start their day, they stumble into it. Inbox open, notifications pinging, brain already spinning in 5 directions, and by the time noon hits, you're busy, tired, and somehow unsure of what you've actually done. That's not laziness, it's lack of clarity. Your mind is like a GPS. If you don't give it coordinates, it wanders. But when you start your day by picking just 3 specific, meaningful tasks, everything shifts. Not 15 things you should do, not 50 things screaming for attention, just 3. The 3 that would make you feel grounded, accomplished, and aligned by the end of the day. This isn't about being productive for productivity's sake. It's about direction. As Epictetus put it, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That means starting each day not with frantic motion, but with deliberate choice. These 3 goals don't have to be massive. In fact, smaller is better. Clear is better. Reply to that email I've been avoiding. Walk for 20 minutes. Write 1 page. Simple, specific wins give your mind something to hold on to, and when you finish them, you build momentum. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of individuation, the process of becoming a whole, directed person. Setting goals isn't just about getting things done. It's about becoming the person who finishes. And that identity, built slowly through repeated action, becomes your foundation. So give your brain a target before the world gives it 100 others. Choose your 3. Commit, and let that clarity carry you forward. 9. Read or listen to something meaningful. Your brain wakes up hungry, not just for food but for input. And if you don't feed it something real, it'll snack on whatever's loudest: clickbait, outrage, gossip, distractions dressed up as information. Most people don't realize how fragile their mental state is first thing in the morning, the first ideas you expose yourself to. They shape your emotional weather for the entire day. That's why it's not just about avoiding noise. It's about actively choosing substance. Feed your brain truth, not trivia. Put on a podcast that challenges how you think. Read a few pages of a book that expands your perspective. Watch a video that anchors you in wisdom instead of drama. Even 10 minutes is enough to change your internal setting from reactive to reflective. The Stoics knew this long before social media existed. Seneca said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you." And today, that includes digital mentors, the thinkers, the teachers, the authors who speak directly to your potential. The content you consume becomes the thoughts you think. The thoughts you think become the emotions you feel, and the emotions you feel shape the choices you make. It's all connected. Carl Jung understood this too. He once wrote, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And feeding your mind intentionally each morning? That's doing. That's leadership. Not of teams, not of companies, but of yourself. So start your day like a leader. Choose content that sharpens you, lifts you, centers you. Because when you feed your mind wisely, you're not just learning, you're setting a standard for how you think, feel, and show up in the world. 10. Visualize the win. Visualization isn't woo-woo, it's science-backed strategy. And it takes just a minute, literally, one quiet minute with your eyes closed before the world barges in. You're not dreaming, you're directing. You're rehearsing your day like an athlete running plays in their head before the game starts. You see yourself moving with purpose, handling that tough conversation without spiraling, staying calm in traffic, pushing through the last set at the gym. You don't just picture the task, you picture you in full command, calm, confident, clear. That's not fluff, that's neuroplasticity in action. When you visualize success, your brain builds the wiring for it. You're creating the mental blueprint so that when the real moment hits, it feels familiar, because you've already been there. The Stoics had their version of this too. They called it premeditatio malorum, the practice of mentally preparing for what could go wrong. But it wasn't about doom, it was about readiness. And beyond bracing for the hard, they also trained themselves to become who they aspired to be. Epictetus said, "Practice yourself, for heaven's sake, in little things." Visualization is that practice. It's you showing up before the pressure hits, rehearsing strength, grace, and presence in advance. And modern psychology echoes this. Carl Jung taught that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Visualization brings your deeper intentions into the light. You start to see where you're headed. And more importantly, you start believing it's actually possible. So don't skip it. A minute of mental clarity now saves you hours of confusion later. See it first, then live it. 11th, practice real gratitude. Gratitude isn't some fluffy self-help trick. It's a reframe, a reset, a reminder that even in the middle of your mess, there's still good happening. When you start your morning by naming 3 things you're grateful for out loud, you shift your focus away from what's missing and back to what's already solid. And that shift? It's everything. The fact that you woke up, that you've got breath in your lungs, that someone in your life truly understands you, that the sun is rising whether you're ready or not. These aren't small things, they're foundations. And when you begin from that place, the rest of the day feels less like pressure and more like privilege. The Stoics understood the power of this deeply. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." For him, gratitude wasn't about pretending life was perfect. It was about staying grounded when life wasn't. When you choose to notice what's working, even in the face of chaos, you reclaim your mental clarity. Carl Jung looked at it from a psychological angle. He believed much of our suffering came from disconnection, from self, from meaning, from the present moment. And gratitude, it reconnects you to now, to what matters. It breaks the trance of constant craving, of thinking happiness lies somewhere out there. So say it. Say what you're thankful for, even if it feels awkward, even if it's small. Because when your brain learns to scan for what's right instead of what's wrong, everything softens. Gratitude doesn't make life easier. It just makes you stronger and more awake to the life you already have. 12th anchor in Stoic wisdom. Some mornings, all it takes is one line, one sentence that slices through the noise and resets your entire mindset. It doesn't have to be long or complicated. In fact, the simpler, the better. Realize this, and you will find strength. That isn't just philosophy, that's a compass. A reminder that even if the world feels chaotic, even if your plans fall apart, you still get to choose how you respond. That one idea can be the difference between spiraling and staying steady, between reacting from fear and responding with intention. Pick your own anchor. One quote, one phrase that speaks to where you are right now. Write it down, say it out loud. Hold it in your mind like armor. Plato once said, "The first and best victory is to conquer self." And that starts with thought, because thoughts lead emotion, and emotion leads action. Carl Jung believed our unconscious minds run the show unless we bring them into awareness. A single focused sentence is how we bring that awareness to the surface. It's how we start the day leading instead of drifting. So before you dive into the day, pick your line, let it guide you. When things get messy, return to it. When you feel overwhelmed, remember it, because sometimes the difference between being pulled apart by life and standing tall in it is just one clear thought, one powerful sentence, one truth you chose to carry. 13. Step outside. You don't need a forest retreat or a mountaintop moment. Sometimes all it takes is stepping outside and touching grass, literally. Put your feet on the ground, feel the coolness of the morning air on your skin. Let the sunlight hit your face, even for a few seconds. Look up, not at your to-do list, but at the sky, because before deadlines and notifications and back-to-back meetings, there was this: stillness, air, earth, space to breathe. The Stoics believed we're not separate from nature, we are nature. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Adapt yourself to the life you have been given," and that means reconnecting with the part of life we so often ignore, the natural world, the world that's been patiently waiting while we've been glued to our screens. Carl Jung once said, "Natural life is the nourishing soil of the soul," and he meant it both literally and metaphorically. When we lose contact with nature, we lose contact with ourselves. You don't realize how overstimulated, anxious, or detached you've become until you step outside and let the world quiet you. That 5-minute walk around the block, that breath of fresh air before you dive into your day. It's not a luxury, it's medicine. It's how you remind yourself that there's life beyond the inbox, beyond the noise, beyond the loop of constant doing. Nature isn't just beautiful, it's regulating. It calms your nervous system, grounds your thinking, and pulls you back into the now. So don't skip it, even if it's just standing on your porch. That moment outside might be the most human thing you do all day. 14. Eat real food. Your brain is a high-performance machine, and every morning it's begging for the right kind of fuel. Not a sugar rush that spikes your energy and then leaves you crashing by 10 a.m. Real fuel. The kind that sustains, sharpens, and steadies you. Most of us would never expect our phones to function properly at 3% battery, yet we do it to ourselves all the time. We skip breakfast, grab something processed, or go straight from coffee to chaos and wonder why we feel foggy, irritable, or anxious before noon. It's not just stress, it's starvation of nutrients, of balance, of care. The Stoics would call this a subtle form of self-negligence. Epictetus reminded us that no man is free who is not master of himself. That mastery starts with the basics, how you nourish your body, how you honor the vessel carrying your mind. Carl Jung understood this too. He saw the body and psyche as deeply interconnected. He said, "The mind is like the eye. It cannot see itself without reflection. And how you treat your body in the morning is a direct reflection of your internal state. If you want clarity, strength, and focus, you have to feed those things. Choose whole foods, eggs, Greek yogurt, avocado, oats, a smoothie with real ingredients. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present with your needs. So fuel your brain like it matters, because it does. Every clear thought, every steady decision, every calm response later in the day starts with what you gave yourself first thing. Nourish to lead, eat to show up. That's not wellness fluff, it's strategic self-respect. 15. Speak your intention out loud. This one's easy to overlook, but it's powerful. Speak your intention out loud. Not in your head, not as a silent wish. Out loud, with your actual voice. Before you step into your day, before you open your laptop or respond to that first email, say something that aligns you. I'm focused today. I respond with calm. I move with purpose. It might feel awkward at first, especially if you've never done it before. But your subconscious doesn't need perfection. It needs repetition. Your words are not just air, they're commands. They shape how you feel, how you behave, and how you interpret everything that comes at you. Marcus Aurelius knew the power of self-talk. His meditations were never written for anyone else, just daily reminders to himself of how to stay centered and composed in the chaos of being emperor. He wasn't affirming fluff, he was anchoring intention. Carl Jung took it further. He once said, "Words are animals alive with a will of their own." In other words, language doesn't just express your thoughts, it shapes them. When you speak words of clarity, strength, and purpose, you're rewiring your mind to act accordingly. You're telling yourself who you are, not who your fear says you might be. So make it a ritual, one sentence, every morning, spoken with conviction, because when the day throws resistance your way, and it will, you'll have something to return to. A verbal compass, a line of defense, a quiet force that reminds you you've already decided who you're going to be today. And that matters more than anything else the world might throw at you. You don't need to control the whole day. You just need to own your morning. Because how you begin isn't just a habit, it's a quiet act of self-leadership. A signal to your mind that you're not here to drift. You're here to direct. You're here to move with purpose, to think with clarity, and to live from the inside out. Thank you for showing up today. Until next time, stay steady, stay grounded, and keep walking your path with intention.